We saw something yesterday which, if it comes to fruition, would suggest yet another escalation, which was a thread being shared in Telegram groups and then more widely on other social media groups. It was quite amazing seeing it shared live yesterday morning, with a list of 39 asylum lawyers and immigration advice centres being listed for targets. It said turn up, mask up, and then it did it with a load of fire emojis, which is quite chilling given that 2 migrant hotels were set alight on Sunday. This was also being shared, the groups where this was being shared, there were also manuals for arson and making petrol bombs.
It's been almost a week since riots first broke out in England following the Southport attack where 3 little girls died. Vehicles set ablaze, the bricks, bottles and looting spread from that first night in Southport to towns and cities across England and Northern Ireland, and still they go on. Keir Starmer has promised swift justice, but with disinformation still being spread and key actors still leading pockets of violence on our streets, where do things go next? Tom Witherell, a news reporter for The Times, has been covering the story closely. Today he's looking at the main actors fanning the flames, and some of those appearing in court already. Who is who? What exactly are they doing? Let's speak to Tom now. Morning, Tom.
Good morning.
Let's start with the people spreading the information or the misinformation, fanning the flames. Tommy Robinson is often mentioned this. How central to all of this is he?
Yeah, so what I was trying to do with my colleague Mario Ledwith was to try and understand the organisation of the contemporary far right or radical right, as some experts call it. And I think we'd all be familiar with some of those groups of the past, like the BNP and the English Defence League. Those were obviously, had a normal structure with a leader. And what experts are telling us now is there's much what they call a theory of the school of fish organisation, where you have, instead of having formal leaders with structures that you might find in a political party or a campaign or activism group, you've got influencers at the top of the tree, and then just everybody else. And you've got people with a range of views, from mainstream concerns about immigration and stress on resources in their community, all the way up to the most extreme, white supremacist actors who might, and those are the people who might be prepared to plan violent acts. Tom, how important is Tommy Robinson? Well, he's got 1 million followers on Twitter. We imagine that he wouldn't have a huge amount of influence outside of the UK. A lot of his content is very much focused on this country. And so that's a very significant constituency. And he's also somebody who in the past has been associated with the old football firms. Those are the sort of hooligans of the 80s and 90s. Now, those are basically defunct in the format that some of the older listeners will remember. But experts say they still inhabit WhatsApp groups. One said, they might be in a WhatsApp group of 1,500 people. They're very mobile. If they're called into an action through social media channels, they can be there very quickly. Now, I haven't seen any evidence, any concrete evidence, that these types of people have been turning up to these riots. But there were witnesses in Rotherham, where I was a couple of nights ago at the Migrant Hotel, who said that what was a tense but largely peaceful protests and counter-protests outside the hotel, with a lot of locals who said that they opposed the hotel being there, but they absolutely would never be violent in their own community. Suddenly it just clicked. Violence came. A large number of people arrived at the same time. There are a lot of cars parked on the road a mile or two away, and it makes you question where those people came from.
And the point is that the people who whip up these people seem to do it with impunity. And this comes back to social media a bit. Before Elon Musk took over Twitter, Tommy Robinson was banned. He wouldn't be allowed to have 1 million followers to do this stuff. He's now allowed on in the name of free speech. There's a story in the Times today about how he wrongly suggested that a woman in Ipswich had been murdered by Somali migrants. That has the danger of causing incitement to racial hatred. You can see it very clearly. And yet it feels nothing is done about it. We had Heidi Alexander on from the government today, and she recognised this. She said that social media is the new forefront of crime. But it feels that both Musk and people who run these social media firms and people like Tommy Robinson are acting with impunity.
Yeah, I mean, the way that this organisation of far-right people operate means that those people at the top who are influencing are remaining just inside whatever the rules of hate speech or other sort of communications offences may be. I think we would say that they are not directly inciting violence, which is usually the sort of limit that we place on freedom of expression. And they defend themselves saying that there's nothing wrong questioning a mainstream political concern, which you only have to look at the reform vote during the general election, picked up a very large number of votes, millions of votes. However, as you point out, this mainstream concern is tinged with misinformation about, let's say, sort of rape myths. It leans on cases where immigrants and asylum seekers do commit crimes, which, just like white population in Britain, of course they do. And it takes this into a toxic mix, which leaves people, with misguided and extremist views, even though their concern may be legitimate over, GPs' appointments, getting housing in their community, and those sorts of things.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anyone has an answer to the problem just yet, but it's one that's going to get worse. Just before you go, are you still seeing evidence of people saying, go to this next place, there's going to be another gathering here and there? Are you still seeing that? Is that still operating on day 7 of this?
Yeah, we saw something yesterday which, if it comes to fruition, would suggest yet another escalation, which was a thread being shared in Telegram groups and then more widely on other social media groups. It was quite amazing seeing it shared live yesterday morning, with a list of 39 asylum lawyers and immigration advice centres being listed for targets. It said turn up, mask up, and then it did it with a load of fire emojis, which is quite chilling given that 2 migrant hotels were set alight on Sunday. This was also being shared, the groups where this was being shared, there were also manuals for arson and making petrol bombs. So again, this falls into that theory where you've got people are being stirred up by social media, and then more violent or more extreme actors are going out there and setting out plans and hoping that other people will pick them up and join them on it. So that list has already had an impact. Some of those centres have said that they will shut their doors this week. Staff will work from home, and others have been offered security to try and counter that.
We'll see what happens. Let's hope nothing does. Tom, good to speak to you as ever. That's Tom Witherow there from The Times.